Check it out, it's your boy Debo the Don, Debo the Don TV. When you have a moment, like, share, subscribe.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
Are you listening?
Damn.
Check it out, I'm over here with my brother Renne. Tell him where we at, man.
We're here at Firme Hydro Werkz here at Plant City, Florida. Anything lowrider, we do it, man. Anywhere from full frame wraps to custom graphics, that's what we do. That's what we do every day, all day, pretty much.
All right, so for all the people who aren't familiar with you, where do you come from? Where'd you grow up? Where your parents from?
Well, my parents are from Guerrero, Mexico. I was actually born in Guerrero, Mexico. I was brought here when I was 3 months old, so I was basically raised here in Plant City. So this is all I know. All I know is really Plant City, and of course, just being a part of the lowrider community has brought me to understand, other parts of the country, obviously like California and stuff like that. But I was basically raised here, man. I'm from Plant City, Florida, straight up.
So you a lowrider legend, born and raised right here in Central Florida, Plant City to be exact. So for all the people who don't know, there's a rich Mexican culture here in Florida. A lot of it spans from the farming industry. My grandparents were farmers. That's how we wound up coming here to Florida. My grandparents worked in Homestead in the strawberry field. That was my first lowrider encounter in Homestead, actually at the South Day Labor Camp back in probably 1990, which was predominantly a Mexican community. Now, you growing up here in Plant City, what was your first lowrider encounter? Was it through TV or was it?
My first lowrider encounter, I'd have to say would be my older brother. Obviously the music videos, my brother was into the West Coast rap, and of course, that's where lowrider comes from. So that's where he got into it that way, and he started getting the lowrider magazines. I started looking at the lowrider magazines, and we started off, doing bikes, lowrider bikes. Okay. And of course, as you get older, you don't want to do the bikes anymore. You want the cars, and that's how it all started for me, man. Really, to be honest with you, that's where it started.
Now, what year exactly was this? Was this like 91, 92, 93?
This was probably, I don't know the year, but I was probably anywhere between 10 and 11, man.
10, 11?
Yeah, 10, 11 years old. I'm 34 right now, so do the math.
Okay. So this is the early 90s.
Yeah.
So, growing up here, of course, I'm pretty sure you saw, you basically, living a lowrider magazine life, because Tampa was one of those more significant tour stops back in the 90s, along with Miami, of course, but you saw this whole area evolve.
Yes.
Now, you being somebody who was a spectator, also / participant, what was it that inspired you to ultimately become what you're well known for now, which is being a fabricator? What made you decide that you wanted to do that?
Well, I was always into lowriding, and obviously we didn't come from a rich family or anything like that, so we had to make do with what we had. Me and my boy, he had a Lincoln, and he scraped up the money to buy a setup, and that's where we kind of got in. We're like, you know what, we should do the setup ourselves to save some money, and at the same time, gain that experience and just having fun with it. And that's kind of how I got into the fabrication part. Because the funny part is everybody knows me as a welder fabricator, but the reason why I'm a welder fabricator was because of lowriding. That's what got me into fabricating and welding and doing all that was lowriding itself, because in order to build, let's say, a battery rack and stuff like that, you have to know how to weld. And that's how I got into it, you know what I mean? I got into that part from lowriding. It's weird how that worked out. It's almost like lowriding made me who I am, kind of in a sense,
Yeah.
That's kind of how it worked out.
Oh man. So you started off building lowrider racks. Now, when was your first time actually hosting a frame build? Because most people understand that's one of the most important components. If you're going to build a lowrider, I will tell you, don't have a $5,000 budget, have a $10,000 to $15,000 budget,
Yeah, sure.
and make sure this right here is the foundation of the car. Of course, the motor's the brain, but hey, this right here, this is like the spine, and the body can't function without a strong spine. So if you want a car that's on the road, you hit them switches, get your frame done, and make sure you holler at Renne. But yeah, when was the first time you actually built the frame?
Well, the first time I took the job to build a frame was on my Cadillac, my big body, a 1994 Cadillac. I was like, I'm gonna wrap it myself, and the funny part, the ironic part about that was, after I built that frame, you know, I was all new to it. You know, I was using C-clamps, I was doing everything, I was hammering everything. It sucked, bro. I was like, after I got done with that frame, I was like, I'm never building another frame in my life again. I'm like, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth the time, and it's just not worth the amount of effort that needs to go into it. And I was like, no, I'm done. I'm not doing this. You know what I mean? And look, you know, here I am, 15 years later, building frames. That's our forte is frames. You know what I mean? And it's just like I said, it's ironic, man. That's how it started. But I built that frame, and I ended up giving it to my boy, and we did a trade-off, and now it's somewhere in Miami. Somebody has it, but yeah, that's what all kicked it off, man.
Now, it's funny you say you weren't never going to build the frame again. You know, I discovered you when I was living in Connecticut, probably about maybe 13 years ago, through a lowrider online chat room called Lay It Low. And I saw you were building Aeons, and I said, man, who is this dude out of Florida building these Aeons? And I started seeing the buzz. It started to go viral, because at that time, you know, there were people like Brent, Pitbull Hydraulics, my guy from Black Magic, Ron from Black Magic, and then there were a couple other people. You had Dan from High Hitter, you had Empire Customs. Those were the people that were kind of known for hands-on fabrication and being able to do like mass production. And then you came out of nowhere, you know, small guy, young as hell, and you got people's attention. When was the second time you built the frame, and when was the moment that people actually started to demand your services?
Well, it started, you know, we were always into the hopping stuff, you know, that's where it goes. And we got into the hopping scene, and then you already know right off the bat, like, if you want a hopper car, if there's going to be a hopper, it has to have a wrap frame. Mm-hmm. So I got stuck having to build another one, so I was like, all right. I kind of learned some new techniques, of course, like you said, Lay It Low, you know, a lot of information being shared there. I've learned new techniques, new ways of doing it. I tried them out, so I was like, you know what, let's do this again. And with those new techniques that I've learned from there, it made it a lot easier. And that's what got me back into it. So I built a frame for this car, actually, this is an old car. And I believe this was the second frame that I built. It was for this car, and it was one of our first hoppers that we built. And that's what made me get back into the frame wrapping part. And then after I did this frame, it wasn't as hard as it was the first time, you know. So it kind of opened that back up. Okay. So that's where it kind of kicked off from there again, you know.
Now, where did you find time to do this? Because of course you had a full-time job. This takes a lot of time. This is a lot of sacrifice. You ultimately have to exclude yourself from friends, family, unless you have a crew, and that's your friend of your friends who become your family.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, like you said, sacrifice. Sacrifice has been a big sacrifice. You know, I sacrificed a lot of time away from the family, from the wife, from the kids. You know, I had my first child at 18. So yeah, I mean, it was a big sacrifice, that's for sure. I think the crazy part is, I think that sacrifice, even though at that time seemed negative, has led me to the point where I'm at now. You know what I mean? Where I have my own business, this is what I do for a living now. But back to that, I mean, that's what it was. It was a big sacrifice, and just finding the time is one of those things where you have to, like, just say, hey, I gotta do it. You know, I gotta do what I gotta do. You know, we gotta make time. And of course, you know, having a good, you know, I have my club members, you know, were always there to support me too. You know, Victor, Jose, everybody, you know, was always there to back me up. You know, I know Boyd that used to own Black Widow. You know, they're always there to back me up and say, hey, and just keep pushing, and that's what we did. You know.
Yeah, so I do want to say something too. You guys, what you guys have is beautiful. As a car club, you know, one of my members from my car club said, you know, he was jealous of what you guys had. You guys have a brotherhood it's like almost unbreakable, and you don't really see that in this community. There's a lot of internal opposition. Correct. You know, yeah. On the front it's like, yeah, we're one big family, but behind the scenes there's a lot of jealousy. Yeah. It's a lot of conniving behavior. People are stealing from each other to build these cars. I definitely just want to say I commend you for actually setting the example of what it means to be a car club, but also be a family and represent a brotherhood. Yeah, my next question though, how many years did you actually work as a fabricator, and then when did you decide to make the transition from working for somebody to working for yourself?
Well, the funny part is this. Again, it's weird because lowriding is everything. Like that's what made me the person I am, other than my wife, of course.
Yes.
But what happened was, I got into fabrication. Well, I needed a job, of course. I was doing a little bit of work, with lowriders and hydraulics. Where my mom worked at, in front of her job was a welding shop, a fabrication welding shop. And one time I took her out. She don't drive, so I drove her to work. I dropped her off, and on the way out, there was a sign in front of that, in front of that business, and it said looking for welders needed. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and apply there. And I applied, and on my application I put that I weld, that I'm a hydraulics welder or something like that. Well, he thought that the guy, when he read my freaking application, I guess he thought I was building like these hydraulic high pressure tanks or something like that. So he's like, man, this guy is perfect for the job. And when I got in there, I was like, no, I do welding for like cars that that move hydraulics. Oh, no, we're not looking for you. He's like, but you know what? We'll give you a chance. And that's where it all started. I started. I was hungry. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be good. I like fabricating. I love welding. I wanted to learn. And that's what drove me, man. They gave me that opportunity, and I ran with it. And that's where my whole welding and fabrication career really took off, was at that point.
Wow.
And like I said, it was all because of lowriding.
And he gave you a shot.
He gave me a shot.
So see, it's similar to one of my previous interviews where young scholar was saying how he didn't have any previous experience working in radio, but someone gave him a chance.
Yeah.
And someone gave you a chance, and look what happened. You've been a blessing to us all. Because I'm definitely going to call you up. You're going to do these A-arms. I'm calling Uncle Rene.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. So you're in business for yourself. Now, most people know you for being a fabricator, but I don't think people recognize you for being a painter. We're looking at this colors right here. This is your work.
Yeah. Well, I don't consider myself a painter, man. I really don't. Anything that has to do with lowriding, I love it. I want to learn it. There's obvious things that I don't really care to learn, like interior and some other things. But paint, anything really that has to do with lowriding, I want to learn it. So, like I said, man, I don't come from a rich family. I don't make buku money. So I have to learn how to do things in order to have what I want. You know what I mean? A lot of it started with my caddy. I wanted that patterned out candy roof, and then nobody really does it out here. And if I had to fly somebody from the West Coast, it was going to cost me thousands of dollars. I don't have thousands of dollars, so I was like, you know what? The best thing I could do is learn it. So I was like, man, you know what? I'll give it a shot on my own car, and that's where it started. Like I said, I still don't consider myself a painter. This is what I do. This is what I can do, and it's I guess it's just another feather in the hat.
Hey, he says he's not a painter, but this isn't amateur work here. We're talking. We have leafing. We have pinstriping. This is patterns with fades, candy. This right here is very intricate work. And
don't do this now, just to.
But hey, we're gonna get there. Probably give him about 2 months. Because I was talking to him when he was like, hey Debo, hey, I think I'm gonna paint my Cadillac. I said, you sure? He's like, man, yeah, I got this paint gun, and I said, man, this guy's crazy. And Cadillac came out amazing. You did Smiley's car. Smiley's a very popular guy. The outcome was beautiful. There's a host of other cars you worked on. You share with the people who you've collaborated with. You recently did a frame for Chicho.
Yeah, we just did a frame for Chicho. Everybody knows Chicho.
Yeah, Chicho, legendary. He will be on Debo the Don TV as well.
Yeah. We did a work for Chicho. We got some work coming in from somebody out in Texas that's very popular in the lowrider scene, James Galindo.
Oh wow!
We're going to be doing a frame for him, which we think that's an honor for us, to be honest with you. We've done work. We're doing some work for Joey from Majestics Daytona.
Okay.
His car's actually here now.
Okay.
Various other cars. It's hard to name them all and try to remember all this. It's hard for me. But
yeah, the Rolodex is. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's this big. It's this big. He just swallowed Viagra pill telling you that.
Yeah, so we've been blessed. You know, we've been blessed to work with some good people and collaborate with some good people. That's for sure. You know.
Oh, man. So yeah, man, just walk us around the shop, show us some of your work.
It's really crowded in here. It's very dirty. He kind of caught us in with our pants down, so to speak. This is we're trying to bring this back. It's our old hopper. We built this back in like 06, about 06, you know, 05, 06. This was one of our first hoppers. It's got one of my first frames that we built for it. It's under it. We're actually trying to change the color, trying to bring it back out fresh. It's a single pump hopper. It's doing about 65, 70 inches. We'll be bringing this out hopefully for this lowrider show coming in May 5th. So that's this one. This is my best friend here, Victor.
Shout out to Victor.
Victor, this is his car.
Debo loves you.
Yeah, this is his car. Something that we just went from something being real simple to something crazy. I told him we'll take it as far as he wants to take it, and that's what we're doing. We'll take it as far as he wants to take it. Fully wrapped frame, everything's painted, belly's all done. We've actually doing the convertible conversion on it. So we're turning it into a convertible, actually working top convertible. It's got the Zenith, it's got the LT1 motor, it's got chrome suspension. Everything that a lowrider should have, it's got it. You know what I mean? There's my other good friend Frankie from Naples, Florida. This is two-door box Chevy. Actually, this was our first conversion that I've ever done. Me and him kind of came together to do it. We're doing it together. It's been sitting here for a while, but it's because I'm waiting for him. We get together and we build it together, you know. And so when he got time and he comes to mess with it, is when we mess with it. That rust bucket back there is my 62. I just picked that up. Hopefully be working on that soon. It needs a lot of work. It needs full restoration. That's a long-term project, but that's my dream car. I got it. Just needs a lot of work. This is an old car right here too. It's about as old as the Cutlass. It's beat up. It's tore up. This car, we wasn't gonna do anything to it, but I had a good friend of mine named Javier. He's actually from Puro Los Car Club. Came to me and said, "Hey man, what happened to Black Widow?" I was like, "Look man, it's put up. We're really not messing with it." He's like, "Man, let's go get it. Let's work on it." I'm like, "If you want to work on it, it's all you." So you know, we made it happen. So here it is, taking up space in the shop, but here it is. So hopefully we'll get this out. We're actually trying to shoot for to have this out in June. There's a big car show out in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, that we're trying to take you to compete. So we're hopefully bringing this back out soon. Over here is it's just really dirty right now. Like I said, he caught us on a bad day, but we got an X-frame here. This is for 1964. It runs from 58 to 64. These X-frames, but this is for a 64 hardtop that we're building for a guy here local. His name is Jeremy. Has a beautiful 1964 Impala. We're actually going to do the full build, so we'll be painting this frame, probably doing some seal relief and some graphics on it. I'm not sure yet, but he's got full chrome suspension for us, so it'll be a rolling chassis. We'll be doing the paint work and body work on the car as well, so you know, stay tuned. You'll be seeing progress pics of that. We're actually pretty excited because it'll be our first actual build here at the shop. I mean, we built other cars and other members' cars, but this is actual customer car, so we're kind of excited about this one. So we got that going on.
Now, question: how much would it typically run a person to build something like this?
Typically, I don't know. I know it can range. It could take a few months, but we've actually been able to do them in about 2 weeks, which is a lot of people tell us that's pretty impressive. Because a lot of people actually take months to build a frame like this. But we've gotten down to the point where we can actually build them. If we push hard enough, we can get it done in 2 weeks. That's for sure. Fully wrapped, fully molded, everything done. Suspension, custom suspension brackets. Everything can be done within 2 weeks if we push hard. But it takes us typically about anywhere between 2.5 to a month to build a frame like this, which is a lot of work. You know? So, and I want to also shout out to Andrew, Drew the welder. He's actually out here helping me, and he's one of the ones that actually makes all this happen as well. You know, it ain't just me anymore. He's actually he's a beast. He's the young beast. I call him the young beast.
Yeah. Tell them who you are, where you're from.
Andrew from here, Florida. I'm very inspired by Renne, and I just do it, man. I just do it like Nike.
What's your Instagram?
Drew_the_welder. Follow me. I post all my work. I just do it because I love it. You know?
Yeah, he's actually Jose's son, so he's been around
Been
around
around this all my
lowriding his
life.
entire life. Like he had no choice. He had no choice, but it's almost like, I mean, this was meant for him. Like he.
Hey, you born in, not sworn in.
Yeah, exactly. He was born in, and then that's.
Yeah, this is not no
It's like-
CB4 computer lowrider. This is homegrown.
Yeah,
Trust
so-
me, it's in DNA.
Yeah, for real. So
Yeah.
this here we got a couple of pieces here that Andrew's actually been working on. These are what we call battery trays. These are where the batteries will sit in. So we make subframes for them, and then we'll make the actual trays at an angle. So that's what he's building right now for the 64. I'm not gonna say who's this for, because I think he wants to keep it on the wrats.
Yeah,
but
we're gonna
it's
keep it on the
for-
low like elephant nuts.
Yeah, it's a beautiful 64 for a guy. As best I can say, he's from Daytona, from a well-known car club. We're actually excited to do this car. We're actually excited and proud to be a part of this build. It's a beautiful car. He's got a lot of time into it. Pretty sure he has a ton of money into it as well. But, we're actually excited to do this car. We're actually honored to do this car. We think we feel it's a blessing to be able to touch, do stuff like this. When I was, first doing all this type of work, this is the kind of work that I wanted to be doing. This is what I dreamt of whenever I said, I want to have a lowrider shop. This is the kind of stuff that this is really the pinnacle for me when I say this is what I want to do for a living. Is touch cars like this, you know what I mean? Because this is obviously everybody knows what 1964 Impala is, It's underneath, but
Yeah, if anybody ever watched Dr. Dre None But a G Thing, when he comes in and he just backs the car up and put his foot on the brake and the car just this is that same car, different color but 64 Impala convertible.
yeah, so it's a beautiful car. Like I said, we're honored to be a part of the build. Like I said, man, this is kind of what whenever I was like, I want to have a lowrider. This is what I dreamt of right here. Being able to be part of these kind of builds.
Well, I will say you're definitely a legend. You're 34 years young, but you're like 34 going on 60 as far as skill, knowledge, and wisdom. You got the spirit of an OG. You are OG,
Thanks, bro.
but
Thanks.
you cut from that cloth. The guys who I looked up to, the Charles Claytons, the Ketas,
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you, bro.
people like Snow, people like Frank, Shorty out of Houston, Texas. Those are guys I saw,
Yeah, I know.
and I'm like, man, when I was a kid reading Lowrider magazine, making that transition from Miami, having to go to Brooklyn, and I'm on the train going to Nassau Broadway to go get the Lowrider magazine every month. The first day it came out, I'm just flipping through. I said, you know what? I want to be like these guys.
Yeah.
I want to make a statement, and I was one of the first people to actually, bring my imagination and fruition. And I was in a place with no resources.
Yeah, of course.
Stanford, Connecticut. One of the whitest places I ever lived in my life. Oh, I mean, now they are. I feel like
Okay.
I contribute.
there.
People like my brother Cali West.
Nice.
We went out there and we planted the seed. We did what we had to do, and then we left.
That's nice. That's what's up, man.
You
That's
know?
cool. That's what it's about. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's what it is. Planting that seed, man. Planting that seed. That lowrider seed. This is a scene that's kind of dying out, but being in this industry, we're actually watching it, rise up right now. It's at an all-time high here in Florida. That's for sure. It's working its way up. It's a beautiful thing.
So I want to ask you a question. Where do you see yourself and your club, Firme Hydro, in the next 5 years? Like as far as, do you see yourself expanding as a club, starting chapters, or do you see yourself just building more top-notch, classic Chevrolet vehicles?
That's kind of where we're at. We're not really into the expansion part of it. We believe that quality over quantity is really our thing. We're just tight knit, like you said, man. We're brothers. That's where we see ourselves in 5 years, is rolling around with more classic Chevys. You know what I mean? That's for sure. High quality builds, frame off builds. Fully wrapped frames. Painted frames, chrome suspension. Up there hanging with the big boys. You know what I mean? That's our dream and that's our goal. And I think in the next 5 years we'll be there. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Well, this is my last question. Is there anything you want to say to the viewers, the young guys who are aspiring to build lowriders, who have a billion questions but no answers? What would you say to them as being an OG?
OG.
What to expect?
Keep pushing, man. Keep pushing. If you have a dream, go for it, man. If you what I've learned is that if you really want it and you work for it, you can have it. That's for sure. Like Andrew's a good example of that. Like if you want to learn to do something, you know, tackle it and you'll learn it. You'll learn it and you'll be good at it. You know what I mean? Because you have that desire. Just go for it. Don't stop, man, and don't let nobody tell you you can't do anything, man. Because you can do anything that you put your mind to. It's like the old saying, man, and it's the truth. It's the truth. Like you can do anything you put your mind to. Don't let no negativity. Don't let nobody, you know, tear you down at all, man. Always go, you know, move forward, man. Move forward and make it happen. Hard work, bro. Hard work and persistence is what it takes. Is what it's gonna take to become the best or being one of the best. My dad always told me, you don't have to be the best, but if you could be one of the best, you're there. You know what I mean? And this, and also, in what I'm doing right now, it's not about me becoming rich. It's about me just being able to live and live off of what I love to do. You know what I mean? And that's lowriding. And it's beautiful to wake up every morning and just come work on lowriders. That's what I love, man. So, I mean, I'm not a millionaire. I'm not this big celebrity or anything like that. But to me, honestly, I mean, it sounds funny, but I'm living the dream. To be honest with you, straight up. Yes. I'm living the dream. I come and work on lowriders every day, and that's beautiful.
Well, hey, I just want to say,
yeah.
I appreciate you as a
I
brother.
appreciate you too, man.
You know, I love you so much.
I've known you for a long time, and you always been 100, man, and that's cool, man.
You know, that's my motto, man. Keep it 100 or nothing.
For sure.
But I like I said, I admire you greatly.
Thank you, bro.
You are the best. Too, and I'm co-signing your dad's statement. You're not one of the best. You are one of one.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Nobody exists outside of you. You know, your talent is unmatched. I watched guys who I looked up to when I was a kid. You know, I'll be 36 years old. Okay. And there's guys who were around when I was 8, 9 years old. Mm-hmm. That's how long I've been around this game. These guys look up to you. And it says something when you rise to the occasion where people you looked up to, now they look up to you. Yeah, it's like Jay-Z. Jay-Z's favorite rapper was Big Daddy Kane. Big Daddy Kane was signing his rhymes. That's cool. So you know this is where you are, dog. You the new Jay-Z of this, man. Cool, Real talk, man. Yeah, so thank you, man, for taking your time
and for coming out, man. And
represent Debo the Don TV, man. Sure. Tell everybody, man, keep it 100 or nothing. But also, the most significant thing in life is Christ. For sure. Debo the Don TV.
Have you ever felt